call to order, town council, July 12th, 6 p.m. Please rise and join.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with the C. What? These.
I'll refer to the item.
Okay, that's the first item up.
Oh, shall
We have minutes, and then what I was going to propose.
Okay, we can defer. Stephen Carr. All right, Martin Collins.
I'll wait till the topic comes up also.
Gloria Groom.
I will also wait till the topic comes up. Thank you.
Mr. Frank Chase.
Same.
Nora.
Mark, 26 Magnolia Street. So tonight I have my Parks and Rec hat on, and just wanted to thank you all for changing the code for us so we can add 2 more people to our committee. We're a really busy committee and we need the extra help, so we appreciate it. The other item is that our new playground at Windermere Rec is going to be open tomorrow. So thanks to Tanya, the travelers, the public stars, fences up, concrete poured. So it should be open for business tomorrow. Thank you.
Jim Willard.
Wait for the item on the agenda. Thank you.
And Nancy Nix. All right. And we're going to move on to approval of the town council minutes on June 14th. Motion approved. Motion by Councilperson Gavin and seconded by Councilperson David. It's real fun work. Yes. Begin with Councilperson Rose.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. And it passes.
Councilmember Williams, for the next following items, the ordinances are going to be for first reading only, so the title just needs to be read. As far as the resolution relative to the implementing the traffic calming program, if you would like, we can do a quick presentation on how we've gotten to this point and discuss the options, and then open up for public comment, just so people are aware of what's been proposed and how we got this far.
Would you like to read the title and then the resolution, the description real quick, and then do a presentation?
That'd be perfect.
All right. Resolution number 2022-05, implementing traffic calming program. A resolution of the town council of the town of Windermere, Florida, implementing a temporary traffic calming program for Oakdale Street, providing flexibility to the town manager to implement the program, providing for reevaluation period after 3 and 6 months, requiring an ordinance for pertinent traffic calming measures, providing for conflict and effective dates. Robert, give us a presentation on where we're at.
Yeah, this was again a resident initiated issue as far as the cut through traffic, the perception of speeding along the Oakdale Street, extending all the way from 12 to 6. We held 2 public information workshops. The first public information workshop, we notified those that lived along Oakdale Street, and then we held an additional public information workshop on April 26th, and then we notified everyone within 500 feet of that of Oakdale Street. We did not, however, notify everybody in the southeast quadrant. Then we took it to LRP, had discussions during LRP, And that's where it came up with the closures of everything south of Sixth and a closure on 12th and Chase. At the council meeting, or the workshop, and then we had a council meeting, the last council meeting, the town council consented to implementing a temporary measure to see if we can start curtailing some of the traffic issues in that quadrant. And we have listed in the resolution those 4 areas, those 4 items to, hopefully take care of the issue. So what this resolution does, it gives me the authority to implement 1, 2, or all 4 of those measures, depending upon how council would like me to move forward. I know there's been some concerns raised about the closures of 7th and 8th, and I think that'll be reflected in some of the public comments that we see tonight. But I haven't seen real pushback when it comes to the actual diversion plan. And Tanya can speak to the impacts of that diversion plan and why we selected what we selected. But it's something that an engineer would recommend that we implement. It's not the most decorative of items, but it's also temporary in nature, because again, after 3 months, as the resolution provides, after 3 months, we'll hold public information workshops again. We'll be able to get some more counts to see if it's working. And then again, after 6 months, we can do the same thing. And what these reflectors do is, it doesn't create an issue of stormwater or if somebody were to hit it. And it gives more accessibility to emergency management vehicles because they can just run right over these things. And it's not too cost prohibitive to repair them. We actually have them on standby, and we actually, thanks to Deputy Chief Treadwell, we have the message boards ready to go as well. So whatever action is taken tonight, we're more than happy to go ahead and implement. But again, the way we got here, and so people were not notified, specifically with the door knockers in the southeast quadrant. But what the council is looking at doing is something that's temporary, not permanent. In order for us to do something permanent, we would have to do an ordinance. That's when we get into the actual details too of how is that permanent fix going to look like. So, what you have in front of you is just concepts. It's not something that says, tonight that's what it's going to look like as far as what the permanent solution is going to be. But that's basically it. John can answer your questions relative to any discussions just had with the engineers. But again, this would give me the ability to implement 1, if not all, of those improvements.
All right, thank you. Let's go ahead and back up to public comment. Leslie East, would like to approach the podium and state your name and your address, please.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, and staff. My name is Leslie Dees. My husband and I reside at 729 Main Street, so we are located right on the corner of 8th and Main. So we are one of the properties that is going to be severely impacted should the city council close 8th Street. One of the main reasons, we've only been here a couple of years, but one of the main reasons we purchased on 8th and lived through the traffic on Main Street is because of the easy ingress and egress. And to close that would certainly impact our lives and potentially even our property value. We would support a diversion plan, but just closing the street is pretty severe. And I know certainly not everyone's impacted by it, but for those of us who are, it's a big deal. So we want to be good neighbors. We understand the people on Oakdale. We want to help in that situation, but closing the street will be a major imposition to us. And that concludes my comments. So I did want to just thank Mr. Smith and the city staff. The 2 years we've been here, they've just been tremendous. And we've had to call for different reasons, and they've really been helpful. And we help from San Diego, and it's not always that way. So I want to commend your city staff, certainly the assistant chief as well. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Councilmember Williams, we do have 2 public comments that need to be read for the record after we have the public that's here to speak. one I think is from Brandon Haynes, and the second one is,
Mr. Hubby and Mr. Collins.
so go through read those after you have the public comment.
Good evening. I'd like to repeat my wife's thank you to the council, to the staff. We have lived here 2 years. We've had occasionally, we've had reasons to deal with the Windermere staff. They have been unfailingly professional, helpful. We've been very impressed with that. And I'd like to say thank you very much to everybody we've dealt with. I'd just like to reaffirm my wife's comments. We're in the C car. We both live at 1709 Main Street. Our house is right at the corner of 8th and Main. Right now, we can access our place by turning left and then right on 8th and we'll be in our place in just a few seconds. When we leave our place, Main Street is right there, we turn right. Either closing Main completely or closing 8th Avenue completely, or turning 8th Avenue into a one-way street would seriously impact the use and enjoyment of our house. We could still obviously, if it were one way, we could still obviously leave our house and go right on the Main and take a right down to 6th Avenue. But if it were one way, we wouldn't be able to come back and use Main Street, come back to our property. We would have to make a very difficult left turn on 6th Avenue, which during rush hour is not only a difficult turn, it's a little bit unsafe at times. We have to make that left turn, go all the way down Oakdale to 8th Avenue to get to our property to the back door. So we're asking council if you would please find an alternate plan to either closing off 8th or turning 8th into a one-way. We think that the diversion, the traffic on 9th Avenue, obviously be a plan that we would be fine with, but I think what we prefer is not to close up any streets at all, just keep them the way they are, the way they've been for decades. But it would certainly impact our property if the council were to do anything with 8th Avenue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, comments?
Mr. Martin Collins has placed in front of you amendments to the resolution, as well as some additional comments that he had for me to read. That would be in addition to his public testimony tonight.
One of the 7-week testing, and first, thank you for the work. The last iteration here with the one-ways is an improvement over closing the streets, but my basic problem is we do not have any goals on how many cars we're trying to stop on any of this work. We have traffic data that show no problem on Oakdale, and we can't tell in the traffic they have where it's coming from, how much is got to it, and how much is. In the case of 7th and 8th, we have no data telling us how many cars we need to stop to be successful in closing off those streets. So if we proceed with closing those streets, I'm asking that the motion, the resolution be amended to please collect the data on how big the problem is on 7th and 8th and establish a goal on what we're trying to solve there before we, upset the traffic patterns. Generally speaking, all my neighbors are against closing any streets. We understand this has gone down the road that the residents in South Oakdale are very passionate about the big problem they have with can't measure. We'd like to have goals established on the diversion also, so that when we measure this thing after the diversion is put in place, we can show the results and be able to determine what is successful and what isn't. My concern is that those neighbors would come back and say, well, that's not closing all the 6th Avenue streets, so it's not effective. Because we have a problem we're trying to solve, but we don't know how many cars we're trying to stop. So get back to the data. There's another proposal that will come forward here. I'd like the town to implement an overall traffic study for the quadrant. Bring in an engineering firm, establish what reasonable goals are for traffic abatement, so that if this topic comes up again, we can explain to the residents that if you don't have this many cars on your street, there's not a problem. In this case, Oakdale did 3 years with the measurement, and they were told they were within normal, but they still really are concerned about traffic that appears to be the normal traffic that's been driving down the streets, maybe a little bit more. There may be some cut through, they can't identify what it is. But we're kind of all over the map trying to make a few residents happier. I don't know if we're gonna totally happy, and we just don't have the data to establish the goals or know when we've succeeded in doing that. Again, my neighborhood is pretty much totally opposed to closing or even one-way the streets. The one-way solution that Robert has proposed does allow us to get out to 6 and turn right or left, but I don't know that it's really necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. Gloria Groom.
I'm a little nervous. I've never spoken up before, so forgive me if I stumble along, but I appreciate you having me here tonight. My name is Gloria Broom, and I reside at 416 East 6th Avenue in Windermere. I've lived there 33 years, and I own my own home. First, I'd like to thank you for so far not closing any of the side streets that intersect with 6th Avenue to date anyway, so I appreciate that. As I am vehemently opposed to any resolution on road closures or diversions at all. Again, as I repeat what Mr. Collins said, it's not been measured quantitatively that any closures are needed. I walk south on Oakdale to 12th Street almost daily between the hours of 7 and 9 a.m. And I do not see any problem at all, and certainly no problem that is worse than any other street in the southeast quadrant. So it really baffles me sometimes. Any road closures or reconfigurations would not reduce any traffic. It would just reroute it, and the problem would be shifted from those on Oakdale to other areas. I think that's unfair. It would certainly reduce the traffic on Oakdale, but it would not reduce the overall figures of the cars coming through the southeast quadrant. It would shift the burden to others, and again, I think that's quite unfair and self-serving to me. And it is without consideration or any studies on how it would affect the lives of the remaining southeast quadrant homeowners. It seems like we've been forgotten or left out. To me, it appears that the residents of Oakdale want no traffic or little traffic, and they won't tolerate that, and that all of the children who live on Oakdale they would like them to have the opportunity to be able to play in the streets. To me, those are both unrealistic goals in today's world. Windermere has plenty of beautiful parks that are safe places for children to play. The green area around Lake Bessie is beautiful, but I never see any children playing there, so I don't know why that is. Basically, my request is that the whole topic be tabled for at least 5 years so that it can be appropriately studied. Again, the 85th percentile study indicated that no action was needed at this time. And it was also indicated that additional police resources were not needed at this time. My fear is that you disgruntled and vocal residents will dictate changes that will vastly affect the other residents.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Brad Chase.
Frank Chase, 935 Oakdale Street. I hate the fact that we have to be closing roads because I grew up here and got to walk in the streets. And these streets are our sidewalks. And these are the streets that I used to carouse down with my friends. And right now, if my kids were the age I was, and I wouldn't walk in the streets either. I love the diversion. I love closing 12, and I think an oversight that we can look at in 3 months or 6 months is closing open. That's 6. But there is a problem with closing, which is why I changed I thought we were totally closing 8 and 7, which is what was discussed at the last meeting. I missed the fact that 8 was being closed. Somehow the thing that's on the screen, and I realized it a week or 2 later. So anyway, I'm glad that we're working to resolve those issues with one-ways or even if we open something out on 6 for those residents, out on the main for those residents that I understand the difficulty from left leaving that area. Cars fly out of the roundabout, and then you've got a line of cars that don't want to in coming into town. So I understand that would be a very difficult left-hand turn. And the bill deals with it on Redwood, but it's a little different with the setup we've got over there from the other end. People tend to gas it coming out of there. So anyway, that's all I have. I was concerned about age for leaving something open for residents to get out on the main. So I'm glad that we're doing something about that. Other than that, I'm happy with the plan. I mean, I know it inconveniences folks, it'll inconvenience me, but I think it's worth it to get. It is all about Oakdale apparently, but it's gonna make the whole area, I think, a nice place to live without, we have traffic that flies down Oakdale. So I know that you all haven't experienced it all, but there are traffic cars that come through there. It's not daily, but it's that one car that hits the kid or doesn't see the kid running across the street. It's gonna be the issue, and I know I keep harping on that. I've been up here for years talking about this. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Then we'll.
Good evening, Jim Willard, 228 West 7th Avenue. Here, on my own behalf, as well as my daughter and son-in-law, graciously has given me this extra 3 minutes if I need. They live at 826 Oakdale, between 8th and 9th, and are directly impacted by any proposed solution to closing the streets around. I understand that residents have complained about the traffic, touchy traffic specifically on Route 3. And I'm in favor of doing something about it. That's something, and I'll get to it in a second. It falls to the diverter, which I think is a pretty clever and effective way of diverting and reducing tremendous touchy traffic. But on the subject of road closing in general, not just here, but anywhere in town, I want to stress to the council that we really need to be very cautious about that. Closing roads is a big deal. We're not the only jurisdiction to have hefty traffic. It happens everywhere there's high growth. Orlando, Cody, Winter Garden, all over the country. These are public roads. These are platted public roads. Windermere. They've been around for 100 years. Anybody that buys a lot in the town of Windermere, not only a public interest in these roads, private property interest in these roads. Everyone has an expectation, has the nature of a private property easement for access over these roadways. So before we start restricting publicly dedicated roads, the town needs a pretty substantial compelling interest as to why they're being closed. One that to be documented, it clearly outweighs the problem that we're going to create for not only the residents, but any traffic public, whether they're in this quadrant or not, using platted roads that they thought would be there because they didn't for 100 years. They're supposed to be driven. Now, we do have, I put the comments to those that said we don't have much basis to go on. We have some property owners interested because they have a lot of country traffic. Traffic occurs 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, 5 days a week. It's not a 24/7 problem. Closing roads is a permanent problem. Creates unintended consequences and more problems than it solves. The idea that I think most everyone can probably get behind is that diverter and lane, which I feel time.
Go ahead.
I personally don't believe and see the necessity for closing any roads, whether it's on 6th, on Main Street, including 12th, because the function of that diverter, the reason it's in that location is it is uniquely designed to capture virtually all the traffic that would try to be cutting around the roundabout at Main and 6th. So given its operation for 30 days, all of that traffic is traffic from Chase Road, from areas that's commuter traffic. It comes in the morning, it comes home in the afternoon. They try to cut around Oakdale, they run into the curve. It won't take 2 or 3 times, and they'll say, well, that doesn't work anymore. I gotta stay on Main Street. It doesn't matter whether it's the morning commute or the afternoon commute, the same thing will happen. No one wants to be diverted up to 9th Street and have to make a left-hand turn on Main during a peak hour. That traffic, it's not going to save them any time at all. So I think it does work. My only concern about it is that it's up 24/7. I would very much like to see an analysis and a contractor look at that diverter we have on the screen behind you and determine a way that it can be effectively directed, whether automatically or manually, in the morning from 7 to 9, and take it out at 9 in the afternoon from 5 to 7. Even if we had to do it manually with a public works personnel, it's a lot less labor and expense than trying to enforce actions with our police personnel and sit out there every day and try to get tickets. But it will do the job, and I think that if you try that, we'll literally eliminate 90%. But I caution you, I think road closing is a long way to go. It can only be done by ordinance, not by resolution, temporarily, and has a major impact on the people that live here in the island. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy next.
Hello, my name is Nancy Nix, and I live at 303.5 East 8th Avenue. That's around the corner of 8th and Magnolia. I do not have children that play in the street, and I don't have any dogs, but I have neighbors who do, and I really would like to be a good neighbor and be supportive, especially of the ones who are having a problem with cut through traffic. I was very much against the resolution from the last town meeting where we're going to be closing off 7th and 8th. I do not want to have to make a left-hand turn onto 6th in order to get out of town. I just saw a couple days ago that there might be an adjustment where we would make 7th and 8th one way, and I could look at that. I understand that whatever we do, that there's going to be some inconvenience, and I don't mind the inconvenience if I can support neighbors and not have to make a left-hand turn.
Thank you. Robert, would you like to read in the record the?
Yeah, Dorothy has an official written for the record.
The first one is from Martin Collins. So we'd like this letter read to the town council meeting record. We believe that Ninth and Oakdale diversion should stop any traffic cut through traffic that may occur during rush hours. We would like someone to pick a goal for this project so we can measure when we have succeeded. So far, there are no count on how many cars we are trying to stop and what time of day. There should be a traffic engineer involved to deliver a report on the safety impacts for local residents due to street closures. Data needs to be collected on 7th and 8th traffic before implementing any closure tests. And we also received the copies.
Yes.
The second one is from John Hubby. I am requesting that this letter be read into the town council meeting record during the next town council meeting. We are opposed to any and all deviations of the normal traffic pattern for the southeast corner. The town council has ignored the fact that there is no justification to spend taxpayers' funds and resources on problems that do not exist. If there is a perceived issue, the members of the town council should vote to commission comprehensive traffic study, develop a scope to direct the study, allocate funding through the budget process, then engage the independent third-party contractor. Then they could begin the process of formulating solutions based on the results of the study and involving the residents of the southeast quadrant. Should the town council continue to move forward with the current plan of street closures, they would clearly be using their position of influence to placate a small select group of residents' complaints based on emotions, not documented facts. This would be acting against the best interests of the town of Windermere and all of its residents. Thank you, John Hubby, 706 Bessie Street. And the last one is from Brandy Haynes. We have read the current plans from the agenda for the Oakdale Street Traffic Calming Program. All discussion so far about placing a diverter has assured us that it will not require any kind of road widening or encroachment to the existing grassy areas of the right of way. However, we are concerned about item number 5 in the recommendations from the engineer, page 33 of the agenda packet. Can you clarify exactly what it means, what the impact would be, and if the town plans to implement it? 5, improve the corner radius for the affected corners to ensure opposing vehicles can safely pass each other and driving is contained within the roadway surface. Instead of making the corner wider, we were hoping there would be some kind of delineators to prevent vehicles from cutting the corner. We are already losing multiple trees in the right of way along East 9th Avenue for the Bessie Stormwater Retention Project. We do not want to lose anything else or have damage to the roots of our trees near the existing road edge along Oakdale or the corner. We have been assured that the town will not excessively burden anyone property owner for these trees. Our other concern is that it seems that there is an excessive amount of signs proposed. Part of the benefit was to be less signs than the alternatives. Thank you, Rick and Brandy Haynes.
Thank you. Council?
Councilmember Williams, there was a question within that I think Tony's able to respond to, and it relates to the ultimate fix, that the concept is in there, that it stays within the confines of the existing right of way, and she's assured me that her and John have taken a look at it and it would. So we're not adding any additional improvements to the adjacent property owners or creating any more issues for them.
Okay, thank you. Council? Question?
I do have one question. In one of your pictures, it shows paved roads, we're not getting roads.
No, absolutely not.
That's it, that's at 8th and 7th and Main.
Correct me if I'm wrong, David was referring to was an example discussed as a kind of a template for all the one.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, it seems to me, I think this is like the 450 statute between one. But it seems to me that most people are okay with the 9th diversion and the Oakdale diversion. And I too am happy to see these and going one way on 7th and 8th. But maybe the way to start it is to just do a nice street diversion. And see what that does, see where that throws this traffic. Before we start doing more closures. I do think that the majority of people will want to try to find this. We may disagree on how bad the situation is, but I also think traffic isn't gonna get any better. This is the best it's ever gonna be. And they're gonna keep building out there, more traffic is gonna come to our town, so whatever the situation is now, isn't gonna get worse. Try to do something about it.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think this is the 7th meeting that I've sat there, regarding this. The first one, there were 47 or 48 participants on that Zoom call. So I don't think this is I have 100% documented data, which illustrates the problem there, but I certainly believe, due to that overwhelming outpouring of residents coming out from that particular meeting and the following meeting, that there certainly is a problem there, whether it's perceived or actual. I know it's, we talk about perception, and I've seen the same thing on my street. There's traffic counts that don't support putting in additional measures. Every single day, we had 80 to 100 cars flying down the street, and like I've said before, speed limit is 15. If a car's going 20 or 22 miles an hour, that's 30 to 40% over the speed. And these streets are very narrow. It is a very dangerous situation. So if I'm not particularly married to any solution, any of these at all, whatever creates the least amount of inconvenience for the residents, it will provide an additional measure of safety for the residents. I'm all in favor of that, and I appreciate everybody. I know it's a sacrifice. I appreciate the folks, everybody knowing and realizing it is a sacrifice, but willing to help the neighbors and the neighborhood to remain safe and livable. That's my comment. Thank you.
So you had mentioned we had several meetings on this to discuss this, but if I recall correctly, this is only the second time we've discussed this solution. And those discussions, I don't think, with the exception of the kind of solution, didn't have traffic counts, didn't have any analysis behind it, nothing. And we have never had a public forum where we've brought in to have the residents in that the entire southeast quadrant discuss this issue. So, if it were me, then what I would recommend is that we table this until we do have that public forum, have that public discussion after we notify all the residents in the southeast quadrant, and we do have an engineer come in and find a solution to make sure it's implemented. I think we're trying to bring solutions up amongst ourselves, and I am an engineer. I'm not going to design the traffic. That's not my specialty. I would like someone that is their specialty to come in and tell us what their recommendation.
Okay, this actually, the diverter was brought up 2017. Robert, when did we do the traffic count where we tracked the GPS?
That was in 2018 as a KHA study.
Yeah.
And what came out of that study was there was no recommendations for any type of adjustments to be made based on the data that they received.
Right.
But then I do believe LRP and town council discussed those water barricades. So it wasn't really a diverter, it was kind of blocking that roadway. in certain areas. And that was also discussed at Ridgewood. And then what was ultimately decided was to go ahead and put those no right turn signs up during those peak hours. But you know, that's going back to 2018, 2019 when we had those conversations. But as it relates to this specific item, you know, no, we haven't had a specific meeting about just this diversion plan. But as far as the area in general, we have been discussing that for several years.
Right, yeah, I remember the cutting 8th and 9th, or 9th and Oakdale at that angle, that meeting, because we pushed for solution no matter what the data came with, because we knew that there was a problem at the time. I'm kind of in agreement with Councilperson Rose is, you know, maybe the diverter, don't block any streets and let's see where it goes. That's me personally. But I think we do need to move forward with something.
I agree with that. I would certainly welcome the diverter. I think, like Jim said, probably said knock out 90% of the problem. My recollection from that data that you were talking about, Robert, was that it was effective from the start because it was based on yes or something wasn't accurate about that data.
It was used for origin destination for both the cut through traffic from the general area and then also internal. The percentage of what was perceived as cut through traffic was, I think, less than 4 or 6%, which doesn't justify any closures. So on one hand, everybody agreed with the overall study as far as the traffic coming from Horizons West, but then didn't agree with the internal cut through in the residential portions. But it's utilizing the same exact data as far as the GPS.
All right.
Just to clarify what I think I heard from it. So the Horn Associates did a study tracks mapping through town to identify origin destination maps for all kinds of traffic. All traffic coming through that portion of town. At that point, they didn't recommend any action based on that data.
Correct. For not only, well, as far as the internal cut through, because again, they looked at the overall cut through coming from Horizons West and also the internal cut through. They didn't see enough of an issue to create any type of changes. So if you're requesting an engineer, like, you know, Mr. Collins stated, I don't know if the engineering group is going to agree with making adjustments because, again, the counts are within the industry standard as far as, you know, how many trips per day. So we have all the data points, but this is something that people have seen, and you've seen through the workshops that they live through this every day, and that's why this is a resident initiated correction and not one that is being brought up by staff or the data.
But to be clear, the resident initiative was the previous plan.
Correct. That was what came out of the 2 public workshops and then long range plan.
That wasn't actually the residents one. They just wanted something.
Yeah, they wanted 6 okay on 12, and then LRP recommended blocking all the roadways because it'd be whack-a-mole for everything that goes to the east.
Right. Direction. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I mean, the way this is written here is that we're basically giving staff the authorization to move forward with a temporary move or correction or whatever we want to call it. And then we'll measure it in 3 months and we'll measure it in 6 months. And I guess the measurement is going to be what they perceive. Like, does everybody feel it's better?
That again, it's as far as setting goals, that would be the only one that we could pretty much
Yeah.
rely upon.
And it has, you know, there could be other implications that come up that we all need to be a little cautious of, because people could divert themselves through other streets and other sections that aren't even on that side. I know when we looked at this, way back when, 10 or more years ago, we were concerned that they would feed off to the other side of Main Street. And take it, yeah. And one of the ways we worked on that was to block off Durham, so that stopped it there, but who knows where else they could try to go.
When was there being closed off? Talking at the end, too?
Yeah, I think it was like 15 years or more, like maybe 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was
It's been a
before my
long
time.
It's a long time.
But again, during this whole process, we'll continue to collect data as far as the amount of trips, the speeds. Again, they're within the 89th percentile, which is not showing or indicating an issue. And then again, what we've done since 2017, on collecting the trips, we haven't seen a significant increase in those trips either. So again, we'll use those data points and go against after 3 months that this is implemented, if that's the direction council goes, and see if those counts go down at all.
So I would make a motion that we move ahead with the blockade, the closure
Diversion, yeah.
of 9th and Oakdale on a temporary basis, and give it a few months and see how it works out.
So just putting in the diverter, correct? No one-ways, no closures, just installing the diverters, what we're saying.
I'd like to see what that does first.
The resolution as it's written has the 4 options, but through the consent of council, I can hear that it's looking like the diversion program, start with that first, and then go to maybe another step if it is justified. But this resolution does give me the authorization to take a look at 7th, 8th, and 12th.
Yeah.
So
I can definitely see that 12 should be required, because they're only going to get as far as 9 and they get thrown back out. The others, I know I'm guilty of it, coming down 6, and sometimes it's backed up and I'll go through Lake and come out on 7th or 8th.
So I know we're kicking a can down the road for evaluation criteria, but what is the end of 3 months? What is that evaluation criteria? Is it until the last resident feels it looks okay? Or do we have significant engineering criteria we're trying to meet?
Or we could send out a questionnaire.
Yeah, do a survey,
yeah,
get an opinion on that.
I mean, we can do Survey Monkey, or we can, again, we're gonna be holding those as required in the resolution, hold public input meetings to see if they have seen a relief. And then again, we can continue to do the strips out there to see if those numbers are going down, or if people are still within that 85th percentile sweet spot. But those are the only 2 things. So,
But they are now.
yeah, I know, but that's the only thing I can really quantify is what the people that are out there see every day.
So it gets down to the point, we meet the criteria now. How are we going to change things? Survey is, how do the residents feel about this? And at what point are we going to say, okay, that's enough residents that feel okay about this? There's no valid criteria to measure.
Must have some very complaints. And people on complaints and leaders and traffic, and I think if they see less than that, then they're.
We can not try to have pulled back out on that.
At least it's temporary.
I think it's temporary, like, let's evaluate it more. Figure out what.
Because we already know that we bring an engineer, however many thousands of dollars, they're gonna say, no, this isn't any worse than anywhere else. So, I think that's throwing money.
I agree. on that, because we're back to the same loop. You know, the problem's there, and then everybody acknowledges that there is speed, it's the road width, it's a combination of a lot of things that makes it a tough piece when you get further down Oakdale, the road gets really narrow. So bringing in another engineer after we've looked at it over the years, the same, and get the same info.
That's not. That's where I'm really getting.
No, I understand.
I understand what you're saying, but the residents, the majority of residents, at least that we've heard from,
Correct.
really want us to do something.
But again, for me, the residents that have come into the last couple of public workshops that I've been involved in, looking at a different plan, wasn't all the effective. The folks that were noticed for those public workshops were within 500 feet of there. Not the entire block.
We're talking about the nice street. Our first workshop, it was 7 or 8 residents. Lived in that particular section of I would agree with moving forward with the verb. See what kind of damage that does as far as traffic. Reevaluate. There, how we quantify that, I have no idea. I'm not an engineer. I've never been impressed with any of the engineering studies that we've done here in town, because they seem to go very often counter to what's intuitively what the residents feel. So I'm not sure it's worth additional money, but probably do need a way to quantify that. At this point, at this juncture, I'm not going to discount the residents' demands for doing something. Anything, as we talked about. So,
Some several residents of the public this evening,
correct.
that are against this plan.
Well, that's correct. There were several residents that were against no rights, my wife being one of them. That's the extra $5, you know, but in the end, it's a little inconvenient, but you know, 20 cars come to every, it's at 80 to 100. So if we're increasing safety by leaps and bounds, let's go for it.
Okay, we do have a motion.
I'll say.
And a second. Vote beginning. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And it passes forward.
We'll make sure that we take counts prior to and after, so we have comparables. Again, we have the numbers going back to 2017, and we do have the 30 days window in order to notify the residents of the traffic pattern change. But we'll make sure to get this, the counters out there ASAP.
Okay, yeah, and school hasn't started back up yet. For 30 days out, but yeah. We got numbers from earlier this year, so it's still in, right?
Yes, we have from January and February, we have numbers, yes.
Thank you.
Good question. So when the burger goes in place, you guys.
Yes. Yeah, that was one of the things the engineer said, get 10 or 20 extra, please.
Moving on. And number 2, ordinance number 2022-03, railroad right of way. While 928 Main Street, ordinance of the town of Windermere, 20-foot portion of dirt main along the east boundary of 928 Main Street, conveying a fee simple ownership of the vacated portion along the east boundary of 928 Main Street to Molly Rose and Robert L. Fleming, the owners of 928 Main Street, providing finding severability, and any comment? Correct. Moving on to item 3, ordinance number 2022-4, railroad right-of-way swap 1036 Main Street. Ordinance of the Town of Windermere vacating a 20-foot portion of dirt main along the east boundary of 1036 Main, preventing fee simple ownership of the vacated portion along the east boundary of 1036 Main Street to JGS Investments LLC, the Tennessee Limited Liability Company, the owner of 1036 Main Street, providing severability and effective date. Any questions or comment? And number 4, ordinance number 2022-5, railroad right-of-way swap, 112 West 8th Avenue. An ordinance of the Town of Windermere for vacating a 20-foot portion of the dirt main along the east boundary of 112 West 8th Avenue, and vacating a 5-foot portion of West 8th Avenue along the north boundary of 112 West 8th Avenue, conveying the simple ownership of the vacated portions of the right of way to Stephen and Patricia Kirk, the owners of 112 West 8th Avenue, providing finding severability and an effective date. Ordinance number 2022-06, amending the citizens boards. An ordinance of the Town of Windermere, Florida, amending section 11.04.01 of division 11.04.00 of Article 11 of the Town's Land Development Code, entitled Citizens Board, to change the minimum and maximum number of members, providing for severability, codification, and effective date. Item number 6, ordinance number 2022-07, railroad right-of-way swap 824 Main Street. An ordinance of the Town of Windermere, Florida, vacating a 20-foot portion of dirt main along the east boundary of 824 Main Street, conveying fee simple ownership of the vacated portion along the east boundary of 824 Main Street to Brian and Cheryl Rogers, the owners of 824 Main Street, providing finding severability and effective date. Yes, sir.
I have a general question about the land swaps. Robert, is this the last of them, or do we still have additional properties to acquire?
We still have additional properties to acquire, but the dominoes seem to fall. So there will be some jogging of the roadway once this is all finalized. But I do believe that once people start seeing the benefits of adding the 20 feet contiguous with their own properties as far as value and developability of that lot, I think they're going to come to us again, you know, from the West 8th Avenue property. That initiated another person to come to us and say, listen, I want to do the swap as well. So as word gets out and more people start doing the swaps, I do believe that more will follow on.
Okay, thank you.
The issue, just so you guys all understand, some of the main issue is that people were forced to put their septic tanks out on right away because of the distance between that and the wells and the lake. So you can't put a road, you can't move dirt over a septic tank or a dirty. I don't know, and I don't think an engineer has studied it yet to see if they acquired that 20 feet and could put their septic into the street, if that's far enough. But time will tell.
Yeah, the width of the roadway is between 11 and 14 feet, I think, in that entire area. But I do believe if we maintain that 11 feet, we're not going to have any negative impacts to people's drain fields, wells, so on and so forth. And we have a meeting with people that are interested in swaps to see exactly where it's at. And I do believe in the future, you know, it is part of the multimodal plan but there is no south connection. So I do believe it's going to be more utilized for stormwater retention and vegetation improvements, meaning that we're putting more
Yeah, I
trees.
think so too, because dirt main can be an anti-normal path.
Yeah, yes, agreed.
The general,
Even moved over 20 feet.
general consensus I get from talking to people from the traffic circle south is that they prefer to leave it rustic, you know, and not super improved like this is gonna be here. Like, you know, we might need to look at that from a different approach, different angle on how they get that part of the trail gets, created or developed.
But we definitely need stormwater control.
Yeah.
I mean,
We
serious.
need it down that direction.
And this is, they tell me, the only way they can really do it without infringing on property they don't own. The town doesn't know.
That's understood. I know it's a mess out there.
Well, part of the 90% plan is that we're just recently, each field's plot out on those plans. I'm concerned that, just some of the concerns that, Rose brought up, you know, if there's leach drain fields out there, we start putting additional vegetation out there, that will impact the serviceability of that.
Well, I don't think there are any going this way.
No, there's no drain fields. That's from North Drive all the way to Park Avenue. But as far as any designs for the south portion,
It's not everybody, in fact, everybody that I think so far all the swaps don't have their septic there, right?
I believe there may be one conflict, but I think it's already further out to where it's not gonna have any issues with the road. And any vegetation that we include, we'll make sure it doesn't have any negative impact on that as well.
We just may want to ask Paige and just double check if that's not, I assume it's a big plan.
Yeah, there's nothing from north to Park Avenue, and that's phase one, so that's where the 90% plans are.
All right, moving on. Like Butler speed, I know it's activity. Would you like to present?
Sure. This is just the speed humps for Lake Butler. Anytime you have to rip out speed humps and come back with new ones, the type that's allowed changes. And so this was just a separate item to approve the speed humps that they've already constructed out there as part of their process. Yes, sir, this is an after the fact. We had to work and design with KHA on the fly what was an approved speed hump. We had to take the ones that were there out, and then we had to put one back that would be acceptable.
I saw that, I was just wondering if
No, we just replaced where they were.
Question just for my knowledge, why are they allowed to have speed bumps and we're not allowed to do them anywhere else in town?
I mean, are you talking dirt roads versus paved roads?
As far as I know, we weren't allowed to do them down Main or Sixth or.
Well, that's because,
Butler.
yeah, well, Main and Sixth, those were transferred to the town from the county. And with that agreement came certain restrictions that we couldn't do stuff within that transferred right away. This is a town roadway, so we're able to do it that.
Do I have a motion?
Oh, yeah, motion.
Motion by Councilperson Rose, seconded by Councilperson Davitt. Vote to begin with Councilperson Rose.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Passes 5-0. Now, I'm going to retirement policy amendment adoption.
All this is doing is just allowing for a hardship. Once you are vested, we just reach a certain age, you can tap into the money that you have vested in the town's retirement plan for those identified hardships. So us as staff didn't see an issue with this. Again, they're taking money from what's already invested and what they've already earned. But they still have to meet those thresholds in order for them to pull out money from their retirement system. But nothing else is changing.
Retirement system for
Yes.
They don't require spousal consent. Yeah, that's dangerous. And we're taking Chief
Mike McCoy.
McCoy's off there.
Yeah, I mean, amending these policies, sometimes they require certain things, and since that was pretty much a moot issue, since he was already through an FRS plan and wanted to, in his contract, have monies diverted to his personal account, so he had to be excluded in the plan itself for them to do that.
Chief Ogden's on this plan.
Chief Ogden is on the same plan as everybody else, so that's why he's not specifically named. That was an anomaly with Chief McCoy because he wanted the funds through his negotiated contract to go directly into his own retirement account.
And do I have a motion?
motion to approve.
Okay.
Motion to approve by Councilperson Abbott and second Councilperson Rose. We'll begin with Councilperson.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Passes 5-0. Liaison reports. Anybody have anything they'd like to add from their reports?
That Robert's been putting and Nora's been putting together the budgets which are coming out. Just reviewing them, working with them.
I just want to say kudos to the staff for the Summerfest. Great event, great turnout. Also, kudos to the staff and all the volunteers for the 4th of July pancake breakfast. That's another well-attended event. We cooked over 20 gallons of pancake batter. Wow. That's a lot of pancakes. So great turnout. Kudos for great support.
Did it work out better with less hours? Because I noticed that we cut down the number of hours. And it was okay, right? People just all showed up.
Yeah, with it being on a Monday as well, I think that helped out with the turnout. Because sometimes if it's on a weekend, then turnout's less because people are more traveling. So next year it'll probably be on a Tuesday, so we'll probably see a lot more people coming.
I had COVID, nobody brought me any pancakes.
Same here.
I heard it was great. Great job.
All you
Yeah. Great job cooking something better. Yeah. Congratulations.
Couple of our homes there.
couple words.
There is a learning curve. Years doing that, there is a learning curve on the first 10 hours. So.
I was pulling back some skills I learned as a teenager working breakfast at McDonald's. So.
Any other reports? Council? Staff reports?
Yeah, just a quick update. We have the second public workshop to discuss the Lake Street issues, and then we have Parks and Recreation on Thursday. And then we have on the 26th of July, a town council workshop to discuss the Lake Street issues. And then pretty much in August, we'll be holding a multitude of Zoom and in-person meetings, whether it's the budget, or we're talking about various other items that are in the design phase. So just expect a lot of notifications of various meetings that are going to be coming up, because we have a lot of projects that are getting closer to final design. And we also, again, have the budget hearing, or the budget workshops in August as well. So it's going to be a busy 2 months.
Thank you. Ramos.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I will be sending each of you this week a memo with the laws that have been signed by the governor. And then I guess one good thing is the governor vetoed that one law, which would have allowed business owners to sue the town for damages if you adopted an ordinance which affected their business. That's one good thing. But I'll send you a memo this week that we worked on, and the tree law did pass, which is a good thing. So we'll get the ordinance to amend the town's code to bring that up to date. And that's it.
I have nothing to report, just waiting for the chief to get better and come back to work. Yeah,
Well, we're happy you're here though.
Thank you.
It's wonderful.
So I haven't officially announced my retirement, but, from law enforcement August 7th. But I'll stay on board, here and there to get us through accreditation and continue writing grants. I can help Lori out in front if she needs a day off, fingerprinting, so I won't be on. And to tell you that, he retired Sunday, was the last day, he's already coming in Thursday to help out, so. It wouldn't take long before he would be back, so both of us will still be around for a while.
Okay, we're gonna be here, thank you.
But yes, so I'll have my final goodbye all written up soon to everybody, so.
Thanks for.
Yeah.
Sally Moore.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. So in Public Works, we've been really, really busy. We did pour the concrete at the Windermere Recreation Playground this week. Had managed the fence installation around that playground, getting it ready to reopen again tomorrow, as Nora let you all know. Sidewalk projects have begun along Park Avenue. The final repaving project started this week. They're working at night. Travis has been coming in to work with them at night. One of the things that I would like to give a shout out is that we made Travis the Public Works Operations Manager and changed his title. And one of the things that he's doing is he's learning to cover the things that Mr. Fitzgibbon would do, and doing some of the things that I would do. And for example, when we had the engineer come in and take a look at the diversion at 9th and Oakdale, I had both Brian and Travis sit in with the engineer so they could ask questions. They could, kind of ask, why was he suggesting this or why was he suggesting that? So we're really giving them the opportunity to grow, and I'm really proud of the work that they're doing. So I just did want to put that out there. Again, we received picnic tables for Windermere Recreation Center. Those come not put together, so my team puts those together and then they get them out to the park and get them installed. So they were working on that today. They're going to be installing the swings tomorrow as well. We've assisted with the relocating of the fence out front here because we're going to be relocating the sidewalk to give those two oak trees straight out in front of me an opportunity to have a little breathing room. So because Condor's here, they'll be coming over tomorrow to relocate that sidewalk for us. My team will be doing some of the other work that goes with that, putting in the sod where the sidewalk's being removed and things like that. So it's kind of a joint project. We transitioned the landscaping around Cal Palmer building, moved some of those large potted plants with the assistance of the garden club and Councilman Williams' family. Thank you. We also pressure washed Cal Palmer. We've made irrigation repairs to the mainline systems here at Town Square. Picked up the variable message boards from UCF Police Department. Thank you again, Deputy Chief. And of course, completed the 90% workshops with residents for the Ward Trail yesterday. Met with several residents relative to roadway issues from the recent heavy rains and storms. And we've got several more of those coming up in the next couple of weeks. We moved items to storage for PD, Town Administration, the Historical Board, and the Parks and Recreation Board so that we can get items out of this building over here. That's scheduled for demolition in the near future. We moved, and then we addressed the fire alarm issues here in Town Hall, made repairs to the berms, pavers, and cross ties down at Lake Down Park, which is at 4th and Magnolia. Some of that stuff was moved a little bit from those rainstorms, so we had to get back out there and repair that. And we've continued with the trimming of the vegetation. And finally, what I do want to say is they did all of this in and around the fact that we had so many heavy storms. They were practically out on the roads every day, trying to repair those every morning from the storms that we've been having. So I just want to give them a huge shout out. They never complain. and they just come in and do the job. And so I'm so thankful for them, and I just wanted to let you all know they do a great job. Thanks.
They do great work. How are the new material on holding up? Because we had 3.5 inches yesterday, we had 10 inches a week ago.
Mhm.
In a 24-hour period, we had 10 inches of rain. So what's the material doing?
Well, I will tell you that the areas that hold up the best are the ones with the new material. We're always going to have our areas, what I call our problem areas. So what we did as a team is we developed a list of those problem areas, a chart. And what we're doing is trying to determine the amount of time or frequency that my team needs to hit those areas so that we have a more scheduled approach to those areas. When it's really heavy like it was last Friday, we received something like 5.5 inches of rain at some periods of the downpour on Friday. That's a heck of a lot of rain. And so they're always going to need to fix some things. It's dirt. So they'll always have to fix some things after that. But if you go over to First and that hill that comes down First, that hill was a nightmare. I would have to put my truck into 4-wheel drive just to get up that and hope I got up it. Now with the new material on that we put in, it's holding much firmer, much firmer. And then Butler going up that way too is also much better.
Wonderful.
Outside the Foglia's house, they used to have a really bad issue outside their house, but that new material is holding up really well there too. So it's doing well.
I think it's great to have a priority list like that, especially if a resident calls you and wants to find out, where they are on the, where their particular issue is. Help to have that in hand.
Yep.
Tanya, have you guys
Yeah.
done any improvements? There was a resident that had an issue about their dock. First, is that better now?
We're still waiting their engineer to provide us with solutions to a plan that was approved. But we had a meeting scheduled for today at 2 p.m. that had to be canceled due to the fact that, number one, the client wasn't going to be able to attend in person, and they have not provided us with any indication or solution to what they perceive the issue to be. So until we receive that information, there's really no reason to, and we've indicated to that to them several times.
I haven't heard any more from them, so I figured you guys could.
Yeah, we're still in communications with them. It's just a matter of them coming up with something to show us, well, what is wrong and how do you perceive it to be fixed? Because right now, everything is operating as it's permitted
As it is defined.
in design.
So. Opposed to the higher.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. I was almost in the middle of that, like, oh, he's an engineer, I should be talking.
I do have a comment on something that Ms. Moore said. She brought up about Palmer Road. To elaborate on that, my father had a note or letter to my wife, allocated funds to plant flowers annually for town hall. We did by town hall, Cal Palmer, and that for the next 9 years. He always believed this was his town. Garden Club has limited funds, so he's, but it was a surprise to us. It was a letter marked to Colleen, and she about fell over. So,
That was, we're full of surprises. That's
it surprised me. It really did.
Great guy.
So, Ms. Burkholder? All good? If, any other comments?
Actually, teaching sandwich classes over the town last Friday, we had 11 residents and non-residents show up. It's still open for this Friday, and then after this Friday, I'll close the newcomers. They already have some knowledge, but if you know anybody in the residence, It's on Friday from administration building from 1 to 2. A lot of fun, we had a blast. I know. Maybe I'll do the evening.
Alrighty. During this meeting.